The cyberbully. You're not in trouble at all.
The ASTROLABE.
Time to end this suffering. I need a minute to myself. So I drift away. You will never get to me. What can't be done, I'll do myself. So
We're gonna win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're gonna win more.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the ASTROLABE. Apparently, I confused everyone. Everyone thought that there wasn't going to be any more labes this week. Yes, there's normal labe schedule until Wednesday of next week. Wednesday next week, I fly out, and I'm gone through Monday of the following week. So I'm here to labe today, tomorrow, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday. So what's that? Today, tomorrow, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday. 5 more labes. You guys got 5 more of me before I head out. Coming up on the end of February here. Just FYI, real quick. I've been today has not gone according to plan. I'm been trying to solve this problem with a number of the aspects of the setup that I just kind of just mashed things together to get it working, and was like, I'll fix it at some point down the line when it gets annoying. Well, now it has gotten annoying. So I'm trying to get these things patched up, and it's taking much longer than I thought. It's actually going to be kind of cool though, because it's just going to get real late next week. It's actually kind of cool because what I'm ultimately doing is I'm using Grok to just build like a custom program for me, so I don't have to pay for another service at all. I don't have to pay for Streamlabs or anything. I just use OBS with my own custom solution paired together with Ko-fi. And then I have like ultimate customizability for adding new alerts or all these other different things that I want to be able to do, but I'm constrained right now by my my software stack. So it's going to be good in the long run, but it was annoying. It was annoying. One thing I did solve is I got myself a little arm here for the soundboard. I just have the iPad here on a little arm mounted on the desktop. So cleared up a whole bunch of space here in the middle and the front of my desk, and it's going to be a lot easier to use. So that's a good thing. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Who was that? That was that Bill O'Reilly? Fuck it, we'll do it live. Yeah. Bobby Ballbeck says, I'm starting new conspiracies. They're all the same. It's a lucrative profession, I've heard. It's all the same people. do a lab by yourself. Fucking thing sucks. That's right. Hey, Raymond Harmon, I saw you said that you like the riff on the lab intro. That is Cooper. Cooper was the one who wrote that song, and then the actual video was made by damn it, the guy's name just slipped my mind. He was working with Jason for a while, helping Jason with stuff on his channel. Canadian guy, name just is not coming to my mind. He took it and like remixed it a little bit to go with the AI intro video. So very, very gifted. Both of them just sat down and just created something, and I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. I love seeing people just create things. This is actually very topical for today's episode. American is a breed. The Antidote to Slop, and theater as Statecraft. Got some very interesting things that I'm going to read to you guys. We'll do a little kind of newsy stuff, but then some more deeper social analysis, you might say, that I'm going to read for you guys. One of them is The Case Against Taste, and then another one is Craft is the Antidote to Slop, and then there was one other one. Okay, now I can't remember exactly which ones I included in today's show. There's going to be a lot of overlap between today's show and tomorrow because I didn't have time to. I had to split things out and be like, no, I'm just going to do these things today because otherwise I'm going to be doing the lab until 4 a.m. So I pushed a lot of stuff out till tomorrow. We're going to do a little Epstooning tomorrow as well. So DC meetup. No, there is not going to be a DC meetup this time. Unfortunately, the cyberbully has demanded that we are going to keep our heads down. We're going to get locked into a basement, and he is going to bludgeon us and berate us for not being farther along the project than we are. And then we're going to be slave driven into producing things. It's going to be very good for us. The cyberbully is a harsh taskmaster, but he means well, and things go well when we follow his direction. So we're going to talk about some of the kind of topical AI and its implications on humanity. Like I've said that AI, like all technology, actually winds up being a mirror. And hey, Creek money.
They don't understand the things I say on Twitter.
Thanks for LaBe makes stay good.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you for the $88 tip. The LaBe is here. LaBe is late, but at least it's here. At least it's here. There's been times in the past where I would have just been like, nah. I'm just gonna postpone. I can take a day off, whatever. I got to work on this other stuff. But today, no. Nope. Today, I just dug in, was like, no, fuck it. I'm gonna get a fucking lab put together, and we're gonna do one tonight. So thank you for the tip, Creek Money. Appreciate you. You guys might notice if you hit the tips link, which is pinned in the chat, tips.kingpill.com. If you hit that, you might notice that it's going to the old Streamlabs page and not to Ko-fi. That's because the automation system that I'm using is almost out of tokens for the month. Here at the end of the month, it's almost out of tokens, and it would have guaranteed that all but 3 of any tips that came in after 3 would have not triggered the automation, would have not played at all. So I pushed it back over to the Streamlabs link, so you won't be able to use Google Pay, Apple Pay, Cash App, Venmo, any of those sorts of things through. It's going to be it's PayPal and credit card, debit card. But I appreciate you guys for the support, and also thank you to It's Damage Jeremy and Mr. Butt Poop for resubscribing. Mr. Butt Poop. Also T-Con renewed his subscription for 9 months. We had the Kingfield voice chat last night in the Discord, and Eastwood came on to say goodnight to everyone, and he said he saw Mr. Butt Poop, and he said, "Mr. Butt Poop!" He gets very excited whenever he sees that. Pin the tip link again. All right, let me do that. It kind of acted wonky when I did it, so maybe it didn't actually work. There we go. there it is. All right, so what was I gonna say? I did a very poor job of weaving here at the beginning. I've gone down a bunch of different rabbit trails and haven't tied them back up again. So yes, I am live. I know a lot of people didn't think I was going to be, apparently, but hopefully you got a notification through one of the many different outlets that I have. I've set up for you guys. You can subscribe on Kick. You can follow the King Pilled Telegram channel at King Pilled. You can follow me on X at King Pilled. You can join the King Pilled Discord, kingpilled.com, and make sure you have the Hear Ye channel turned on with notifications. What else? I think that's it. I've given you as many ways as I could possibly think of. So hopefully you did get notified and you are in here. Otherwise, shout out to the replay gang. We appreciate you guys as well. Yeah, I can't. Oh, I was saying something about AI. So, like all technology, AI is it's an extension of humanity. It's something it's a form of technology. We need to get things done, and we want to automate that process in some way or another. Sometimes the thing we're automating is time. Sometimes the thing we're automating is complexity. Sometimes, which is kind of another way of saying time. Sometimes the thing we're automating is we're like duplicating ourselves. So if we build some really big lever to lever something up, it's like we're creating little mini extensions of ourselves, duplicating our own effort and building that successively on top of it. So this act of reproducing versions of ourselves means that the tools, the technology that we create winds up reflecting ourselves back at us, because the act of producing technology is an attempt to produce little mini-me's. Yeah, life support and plugger. Little mini-me's. Building technology is like engaging in the process of producing little mini people. Now, you can also produce little mini people as well. So in a sense, you could say that is also sort of on the spectrum of technology, in another sense. So technology is fundamentally, the creation of technology is a creative expression of humanity. It's humanity expressing itself and reproducing itself. But you need to have, I guess this is kind of a side trail that sprang to mind as I was talking here, that you need to have the actual reproduction of people as well. If you go to replacing people altogether with the technology, maybe this isn't really a side trail. This is actually very relevant. If you need to keep these like in balance with each other, the production of actual people and the production of technology. Because technology is sort of like an artificial people. It's the artificial people that we create, the duplications of ourselves, the multiplication of our own efforts. But it's easy for that to become a god in itself. We're literally then creating idols, and we're worshiping the idol. The fact that you worship the technology does not, this is a disordered relationship to technology. It's not something that's wrong with the technology, it's something that's wrong with the people. So when we produce things like AI, ultimately, the reason, like the uncanny valley thing, this is the thought I'm trying to tie into here, is this uncanny valley thing. You look at something and it's almost lifelike, but there's something that's a little different, and that kind of creeps you out. That, I think, is pointing at this reality that creating technology is fundamentally an act of trying to reproduce humanity. And so this is like an eternal cycle. This is like an internal cycle of the experience of humanity in this life on this earth, is the development of technology, because we must exercise dominion over the earth. We're building the city of God. As David Gronowski said, that the story of the Bible, if you just look at the Bible as a book, the story begins in a garden and ends in a city. And a city is an expression of technology. Cities are a form of technology. You can't have an anti-technology perspective without simultaneously having an anti-creative perspective. The spirits go together. But then there's also the spirit of technology that's anti-human, transhuman even. And these are the left path and the right path, and you can't fall into either one. Which requires us to understand what technology is, and then to be able to evaluate it, because ultimately it's reflecting ourselves back at us. We build this thing, we sort of like reverse engineer our way to producing some derivative of humanity, and then we're like, whoa, that thing's kind of human-like. So, and then it gets creepy. To some people, it gets creepy. To other people, it's kind of like, ooh, hold on a second. You mean I can make humans? God makes humans, and I can make humans? You have to be able to hold both of these ideas together in tension with each other. And so this is a lead up to what I'm going to talk about here later on, after we get through a couple of stories here. A fantastic article written on X called Against Taste. You hear about people talk about having good taste or bad taste. He's writing Against Taste. And it's a great hook because I started reading it thinking I was going to hate it, and then wound up really, really liking it. So let's get going here so we can get to that point because I'm excited about it. The first one here, it's a dude doing an impression of Obama as a cow. Like, I just got to play it.
This is my impression of Barack Obama as a cow. Moo. Moo. Moo.
My kind of racist humor. Yeah. I tried to think of something to say about it, and I was like, it's just a guy doing a really funny impression of Obama as a cow. And you listen to it, and it's like, yeah, that's a really funny impression of Obama as a cow. Then there was this one. This clip was going around of this old like drunk guy yelling at this kid on the sidewalk. And then someone came. The kid himself actually posted this full video. So I'm just going to play the full video. Doesn't even need any context. As you watch it, you'll get all the context that you need.
Couldn't stop, could you? Burned you anyway,
You
freak.
won't fuck me, will you?
And I burned you anyway.
I bet you're tight as fuck.
Hey
What
guys,
do you
that's
mean by
enough.
that?
Hey.
What do you mean by that? He said, I think you're tight as fuck. That's a homosexual thing.
Okay, well we both need to.
He just threatened to ass fuck me.
Okay, we both.
Arrest him.
We both need to go our own way.
Arrest him or give me a piece.
Go your own way.
Give me a weapon, I will deal with it. That's a mortal threat.
Stop raping,
That is a mortal threat.
Go somewhere else.
Loan me your weapon, I will handle
No,
it.
let's go somewhere else.
Can you loan me your weapon?
I'm not doing that.
Fine, I accept that. Should you loan me your weapon, I will handle that.
Are we going this way or
That is
going
a mortal threat.
I understand that.
You
We're
witnessed
going
it.
that way.
Study your audio, you witnessed it. That is a mortal threat.
Here's the beginning.
Couldn't stop, could you? Burned you anyway,
You
freak.
won't fuck me, will you?
And I burned you anyway.
I bet you're tight as fuck.
Kid's like, whoa,
Hey
wait.
guys,
What do you
that's
mean by
enough.
that?
Hey.
What do you mean by that? He said, I think you're tight as fuck. That's a homosexual thing.
Okay, well we both need to.
He just threatened to ass fuck me.
He just threatened to ass fuck me. That might have to go on the soundboard. Okay. Let us be blessed by some National Revival Kino.
Today, the West is also confronted by the powers that seek to test our will, undermine our confidence, and challenge our interests. If left unchecked, these forces will undermine our courage, sap our spirit, and weaken our will to defend ourselves and our societies. We know that these forces, too, are doomed to fail. if we want them to fail. And we do indeed want them to fail.
So true.
We did not, and we will not. We will never back down. Our adversaries, however, are doomed because we will never forget who we are. And if we don't forget who we are, we just can't be beaten. Your defeat will be certain, your demise will be final, and your downfall will be total and complete. The defense of the West ultimately rests not only on means, but also on the will of its people to prevail and be successful and get what you have to have. The fundamental question of our time is whether the West has the will to survive. Do we have the confidence in our values to defend them at any cost? Do we have enough respect for our citizens to protect our borders? Do we have the desire and the courage to preserve our civilization in the face of those who would subvert and destroy it? We can have the largest economy and the most lethal weapons anywhere on earth. But if we do not have strong families and strong values, then we will be weak and we will not survive.
Thank you, Pale Morning Dew. That is one of the best. One of the best of these that I've ever seen. One of the best, like these national revival videos. That one's worthy of one of the social media accounts. Isn't that insane to say? Isn't that insane to say that this could very easily be produced by one of the administration's social media accounts? They would absolutely rubber stamp every single one of these things. I mean, it's out of the president's words directly. There was a couple of lines in there. One of them was that if we forget who we are as people, then we lose ourselves. We have a heritage, we have a tradition. And if we forget that, then we will literally no longer be those people. I remember this is one thing in Lord of Spirits. One thing that they talked about that totally, you hear an idea that just completely reframes everything for you. And you could recall exactly where you were when you heard it, and it fundamentally alters the way you view the world going forward. This is one of those moments for me. When they were describing the Israelites going into the Promised Land and wiping out all of the tribes, all of the giant clans. And this is the thing that's always pointed to by this is the evil God of the Old Testament, and they were just slaughtering people, and I was always like, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you don't appreciate what these people were like that they were slaughtering. This is like the conquistadors and the Aztecs. But there is a nuance to it, and it's like a nuance that just unlocks everything. That nuance was that to destroy a tribe in that time, with the way that human beings organized themselves at that time, to destroy that tribe meant that there were no longer any people who participated in the rituals of that tribe. So the goal was not necessarily to eliminate the people. The goal was to eliminate the practices. And if the people refused to stop doing the practices, then the people would be killed. Man, women, children, no matter what. But if the people said, no, I'm not going to sacrifice to the pagan gods anymore. I'm not going to engage in cannibalism or human sacrifice or egregious sexual deviant behaviors. I'm not going to do those things anymore. I'm going to now take on the rituals of the people of God. Then they would be accepted into the people of God. That was what defined them as the children of God, was the people who followed the prescribed rituals. And ritual, when I say ritual, I'm talking very broadly. Literally your patterns of life every day, every single pattern that you engage in. We have all these different ritualistic behaviors that for us, it's just like social graces or habits or whatever, but they're rituals. We don't have to do those things, but they're subconscious to us. We just do them organically. These are our rituals, and these are the rituals that define us as people. If you really drill down into what rituals are, it's to participate in the rituals of a given people is such an extreme level of immersion. To actually define themselves as that new people, this sort of an immigration policy built under these conceptions would be substantially restrictive. Like, yeah, you're allowed to come into the country, but only if you're going to literally act like Americans do. And Americans act in a particular way. And if you dedicate your life to just acting like an American, pretending to be an American across 100% of your patterns of behavior, yeah, you can stay here. If you're willing to commit to that, yeah, you can stay here. Your standard of behavior that you're held to is going to be much higher than anyone else. And this is how you preserve a distinct people. To eradicate the behaviors that define that people, to eradicate the practice of that people's rituals is to eradicate that people. So in a sense, this was like I think you can derive, I don't want to say this directly as like an actual theological thing, because I'm just some layman who's just like throwing ideas around in my head. But I read that as commentary on immigration. Not that it's written, that sequence of historical events occurred that way to define an immigration policy to us, but it informs the way you should look at a people. That people is going to be a congregation of individuals who all participate in the rituals that define that people. Because like at the time, if you're thinking along like racial lines, like it's going to be heavily along particular racial lines because it's ultimately derivative of the family. So it's going to there's genetic connections. But that was not a lot of genetic diversity between those people relative to now. There were plenty of one of the first high priests was clearly an African, like actual sub-Saharan African, dark African. But T-Block, I think. Whew.
Took me 20 minutes to make this work, but here we are. Mr. Datsu says chug gargle gargle spit yuck, how could you
I hope you're proud of yourself. All of the G's in a row just translated to, it sounded like her glitching out. Just. Thank you for the 1488 T-Blom 06 Patriot. Yeah, Lord Breezy, God created the nations and called them good. Yes. The nations are good. And what defines the nations? What differentiates the nations? What differentiates them is their practices, the practices that they participate in every day. This is an entire conception of what it means to be a person. So in this, along those lines, I want to read. I'm going to do this now. I was going to save this for later, but it just fits in too well right now for where my brain is going. So, Joel Webbin has an excellent tweet, kind of a essay of sorts. And he says, American is a breed. Today, there are many who say American whites are mutts. However, the word mutt has a definition, and we don't meet it. A mutt is an animal, one, whose parents are different breeds and or an animal, and two, with no recognized breed. For starters, I assure you, white Americans are thoroughbred. I'll give you an example of what I mean by that and how I prove it. If you watch the Kentucky Derby or any of the distinguished Triple Crown races, you'd know the most renowned and recognizable Kentucky racehorse breed is named simply, and appropriately, thoroughbred. Famously, this breed goes back more than 200 years and was bred from the Arabian, Barb, and Turkoman bloodlines. Do you know where those bloodlines are from? The Arabian comes from Saudi Arabia, Yemen, the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, or Jordan. The Barb comes from Morocco, Libya, or Algeria. The Turkoman comes from northern Iran, Afghanistan, or Turkmenistan. And yet the Kentucky Thoroughbred is the aristocrat of the equine world. It is the crown jewel of horse breeds. It is the first among horses, the standard by which all other horse breeds are judged. And yet, despite being from the Middle East and North Africa, it came by way of England, when the Anglo-Saxons crossed their mares with these breeds. But it still didn't exist until they came to Kentucky. The Thoroughbred would never have existed without Kentucky. The Kentucky limestone-rich soil provides what it needs for its impressive bone density. Its rolling pasture is perfect for its conditioning. The concentration of Kentucky farms is perfect for elite breeding programs. It couldn't have been bred anywhere else. No one would dare call a Kentucky Thoroughbred a mutt because their ancestors all come from different places. That's absurd. The breed was formalized in 1791. And if the Kentucky Thoroughbred is a breed, surely too are their owners, some of whom go back to the hills of the Kentucky Commonwealth more than a century longer. Take a hillbilly from Kentucky Appalachia, and their ancestors might be from Germany or Ireland or Wales or England or Norway, but it doesn't matter. They're just as much a breed as their horses. Pure-blooded, thoroughbred Americans. You can spot an American in an airport terminal in Frankfurt before he ever opens his mouth. You can recognize him crossing a plaza in Rome, shoulders squared, stride unhurried, head up, scanning the horizon like Rome belongs to him. Ask anyone who has traveled abroad and they'll tell you the same thing. Foreigners claim they can identify us before we speak, by the way we walk, by the way we occupy space, by the way we lean against walls like we're holding the building up. We speak more loudly to symbolically show we are, in fact, the most important people in any room. Our handshake is firm, not tentative. We don't shake hands like a dead fish or with limp wrists. We look people in the eye and expect the same in return to assert our own equality. We stand straight, we speak plainly. This is not an accident, it is inheritance. It's because of breeding. We are the product of frontier stubbornness, Protestant work ethic, industrial ambition, agrarian friendliness, Christian hospitality, and constitutional audacity. We are recognized by these very things. And a people that can be recognized is a people that have become a breed. And that is why sovereignty matters. Because this country is not a blank administrative zone for foreign governments to organize influence operations inside. It's a nation with a spine, with a culture, with a recognizable face. Our breed's distinctness is not arrogance, it's cultural continuity. It is the visible residue of shared history, shared struggle, shared ideals hammered into law and defended in blood. These were not random cultural accessories, they were the load-bearing architecture of the burgeoning new breed of white American. That, folks, is what the kids are calling a banger. A veritable heater, one could even say. This guy replies, I was born and raised in Ireland. I was a patriotic Irish Republican, something that barely exists today, which I watched the death of. I came to America at 16 and fell in love. God spoke to me at the top of the Empire State Building and told me I would live here. 7 years later, I did. I'm now an American citizen. My wife and children are American, and so am I. I was born Irish. I will die American. For America. This dead rabbit will live and die for the natives, the greatest country in the history of mankind. This one looks like... I didn't see this reply before. It looks like it's probably AI, but it's not too bad. I'm just kind of skimming it real quick. Joel, your thoroughbred analogy cuts straight to the marrow of what too many dismiss as mere sentiment. The Kentucky bluegrass didn't just receive those imported bloodlines, it transmuted them. Limestone in the soil, the rhythm of the seasons, the hard calculus of selective breeding under open sky. These are not accidents. They are the alchemy by which disparate strains become a distinct and superior line, one that no longer resembles its origins, yet carries their strengths refined. So too with the American people, especially those whose forebears crossed an ocean to hack farms from wilderness, who fought at King's Mountain and Cowpens not as Englishmen or Germans or Scots-Irish, but as men already becoming something new. The frontier did the sorting. It rewarded audacity, self-reliance, suspicion of distant authority, and an instinctive grasp that rights come from nature and nature's God, not from parchment signed in European salons. What emerged was no chaotic mongrel, but a recognizable type. Square-shouldered, direct-eyed, speaking plainly and expecting the same in return. Travelers have noted it for 2 centuries. The American stride that assumes the ground is his to walk. The handshake that tests character rather than feigns deference. These are not affectations. They are the visible grammar of a people shaped by space, soil, and shared ordeal. That grammar is written into the Constitution itself, not as abstract theory, but as hard-won architecture meant to preserve the sovereignty of citizens who know they built the house. When we forget that, when we reduce the nation to a mere proposition or an economic zone, we risk losing the very continuity that made the thoroughbred, and the American, preeminent. The breed endures because it was deliberate, tested, and defended. Sovereignty is not an optional luxury, it is the fence that keeps the line pure and the pasture fertile. Lose it, and we become what the critics already call us, rootless, undifferentiated, and ultimately replaceable. Well said, sir. The Republic still has men who remember what stock they come from and why it matters. Man! If that's a clanker, that clanker can frickin' write. You know who's not American? Democrats. Democrats are not American. Look at this ad. They just gave my president. You know how I know Democrats aren't American? Because no American would no American would score an own goal this aggressively.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
Brutal!
These people are crazy.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the ad that dropped in like September or October of 2024. When, what did it say? It said, it was something like Trump is for you, Kamala is for they, them. And yeah, Kamala is for they, them. It was that one. That a bunch of people, I remember Charlemagne the God was talking about it. He was like, when he saw that ad play, he was like, oh, Trump's got this in the bag. That was just a kill shot. Just straight dome buster. Brains all splattered, blown out the back of the head. Just a straight dome shot. This is similar. God bless Donald Trump for putting that in that speech. Forcing them up against the wall. Someone, I think it might have been it might have been, was it Tom Luongo? Someone I was listening to mentioned that that was a major risk that he took. Because what if they had stood when he said that? They would have gotten themselves their own set of propaganda. Watch this one more time and imagine them standing for it.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
So they could have stood up there and said, yeah, I do believe it is. And then proceeded to just continue being totally two-faced. He would have been like, oh, wow, you actually stood up. And he could have like tried to hold their feet to the fire, but it would have been like a continuation of the same game. All they would have had to do is stand up. They would have the fact that they were going to take a hit on this question was there regardless. The game theory here would be you stand up and you deal with whatever as you go, because like what defines you is your ability to just switch positions on anything on a dime with not being beholden to anything except your own self-interest. So it would have been entirely consistent for them to stand up and be like, yeah, see, we do. Look, Trump tried to Trump tried to put us on the spot and we stood up to him. I didn't even thought of that. I think it was maybe Tom or someone said that. And I was like, oh, damn, that's a really good point. But the fact that they cannot help themselves, they're too stupid. They are not politically competent. They are just digging in their heels and they're like hanging on to the rope and just being dragged along. They're never regaining their feet again. The party is done. The party is cooked. Look at this. Representative Mike Collins. Think about all of these midterms races now. Mike Collins. This is what illegal immigration does. This is what Democrats have caused. No mother should ever have to face this. Sitting in the surgical wait area for the 6th time since an illegal alien crashed into my daughter, launching her head first into a concrete barrier and then fled, leaving my daughter bleeding from her head, nose, and mouth on the side of the road. 6 times I've sat with my heart in my throat for hours, feeling utterly helpless, praying to God to protect my little girl. And all of this was 100% preventable. Sanctuary policies did this to my daughter. The person that hit her shouldn't have even been here. I'm not speaking out now for my daughter. There is no justice for her. The driver pled guilty to a Class 5 felony that comes with a maximum sentence of 3 years. 3 years for my daughter's life. 3 years for mine. There is no sentence that can make what happened to my daughter okay. I'm speaking out for future victims of illegal immigration. I speak out to make sure not one more mother has to sit waiting for news if her daughter is going to live or die because of the actions of an illegal alien that should not be here. To the politicians that have abandoned your first priority, to protect American citizens, I will not rest until you are held accountable. My daughter is not acceptable collateral damage in your quest for money and power. One more time.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. These people are crazy.
You could hear when he said that, because he said it a couple of times. He was like, these people are crazy.
You filthy Democrat!
A couple of times he was like, these people are insane. But then there was one time, I don't remember when it was, but I think it was that video where he's like, you're not even going to stand for that? You could tell even he was surprised. He's like, these people are insane. This is the midterms campaign, by the way. That was the opening, the launch of the 2026 midterms campaign. They've already said they've got this massive war chest, and Trump is going to be campaigning in 2026. There's going to be more speeches that are like that. And this is what they're going to be hammering. These people here, this isn't just like, oh, things suck because the stuff happened. These people intentionally created this. They knew what they were doing, and they did it on purpose. Whether it was to enrich themselves or for the benefit of some foreign country, or just purely because they're there and they could do something, and so they were just going to go along with whatever they were going to go along with. The state of the country was actively facilitated. Millions of people have died because of them intentionally creating this situation. The Democrat Party is the party of murder and crime and terrorism. And it's going to take a little while to fix a country that has been beset by such criminality. But there is no future for the Democrat Party. It's the party of death. Just associating them with death. Every time somebody thinks about Democrats, they're going to think about death. Look at this. This is what they were doing in the meantime. This was their counter event to the State of the Union. Watch this and tell me that this isn't just like the Libertarian Party circa 2018.
I'm a mother. I am a physician, and I have a flag. And I am the proud representative for Oregon's 3rd Congressional District. Yes, thank you, thank you. And tonight, I defy Trump and his authoritarian project by standing in joyful, radical, peaceful resistance with the Portland Frog Brigade.
You're gay.
I'm a mother. I am a physician, and I have a flag.
This was their response to the State of the Union. They also had the Abigail Spanberger thing, but like this was their counter event. I don't even give a shit what Abigail Spanberger said. I know what she said. She said, I'm an evil, frigid CIA bitch.
I'm fresh out of an ICE prison in Minneapolis. I've been arrested 3 times by ICE over absurdity, over us being ourselves, over me singing songs like, hey, Mr. Tangerine Man, get rid of brown people for me. I'm Aryan white, there ain't no place I'm going to. And then all of a sudden, he's not ready for primetime player ICE agents with 2 weeks of training come after me. I got arrested in Portland.
Mr. President, fire up the goy
I
bean.
got arrested in Minneapolis in the last 3 weeks twice. But they can't erase a movement, all right? What I went through is 1/1000th of a lot of marginalized people and what they have to go through in those ICE detention centers. And I want to tell you something right now. There's an announcement.
We're going to give you the death
Pumpkin
penalty.
Spice Satan is making his way to the State of the Union. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to rev up the show right now. We're giving out prizes. We're going to have bingo. We're going to storm the White House with love and compassion.
Defiance.org. RNC Research said this is what Democrats are doing instead of attending President Trump's State of the Union speech. Democrats are literally hanging out with deranged leftists dressed in giraffe costumes, bragging about getting arrested by ICE.
What are you, retarded? I know you're not retarded. But, what are you, Down syndrome?
Mystery Grove says, reminder, communism is when ugly, deformed freaks make it illegal to be normal, then rob and or kill all successful people out of petty resentment and cruelty. The ideology is all just window dressing. Now, this is an extremely, there's depths to this that I think most people haven't fully taken on just yet. But I would just say that communism can hide under any ideology. I'll just say that. Runaway Cyborg said it's wild to see the separation from left versus right in real time. You can just look at everyone in this video and tell they're a leftist. They all look horrible and or ugly. Creators against ICE.
Hey guys, we gotta talk about ICE.
Right now, ICE agents are
violently detaining, searching,
and arresting our neighbors at alarming rates.
Adults and children alike are being taken.
What is that?
Their homes, their jobs, and their schools with little warning and even less legal protection.
No thanks.
Resistance to the enforcement of this administration's
white supremacist police state
is being met with lethal force
by unqualified individuals who disregard the law and human dignity.
Linda Davis,
Keith Porter Jr.,
Silverio Villegas Gonzalez,
Isaias Sanchez Barbosa,
Renee Good, and Alex Preti
are unfortunately.
Some of these women, they're so stupid.
They're all women.
Few of ICE's victims,
and we must honor their legacies and make change for good.
And that's where you can help us.
So far, we have raised
over $340,000
for the National Immigration Law Center,
one of the most trusted organizations fighting for the rights and advocacy of
low-income immigrants
and their families
Since
What is that?
$40,000
for the National Immigration Law Center,
one of the most trusted organizations fighting for the rights and advocacy of
low-income immigrants
and their families
since 1979.
We are urgently
working to raise
$500,000
to help detained immigrants
and their families access
critical legal representation,
often the difference between
reunification and permanent
separation.
Immigrants make
America great, and they're not going anywhere.
The lives are on the line,
and their families are at risk.
Please donate
what you can and share.
Every dollar helps protect someone's future.
ICE is Gestapo.
Get that ugly, disabled freak away from me. I don't want to look at his fucked up face. His smushed in, gargled, baby, disabled face. I don't want to look at it.
Harry! What does Harry have to tell us? I freaking love Harry Enton. Democrats are in worse position than they were during Donald Trump's first term.
Position than they were at this point during Donald Trump's first term. Take a look here. Trust which party more on immigration. In 2018, Democrats had an edge of about 6 points. You come over to this side of the screen now, look at that. Republicans are the ones who actually have an edge on immigration. So this whole idea that Democrats are going to be able to...
The man lives for his frickin' numbers. No one is going to stand between Harry Enton and his numbers. All he wants to do in life is put together numbers and then excitedly describe them to you. Very demonstrative. When the number goes down, it doesn't just go down. It goes down off the camera screen all the way to the ground. Palms to the ground. Chest to the floor. Licking the floor. He must convey to you that it's down, it's low.
To take advantage of the immigration group, of the immigration issue, actually doesn't bear itself out in the polling despite everything that's been going on. In fact, Democrats are in worse position than they were during Donald Trump's first term.
Yeah, maybe that they don't like what Donald Trump, the president, is doing, but they don't think...
Look at him. He's like, okay, yes, that's right. Now your turn to prompt me so I can talk about some numbers some more.
Donald Trump.
Good job, sidekick.
Term. Yeah, maybe that they don't like what Donald Trump, the president, is doing, but they don't think Democrats will do a better job.
Correct. They think Democrats will do a worse job on immigration than
Throws
Republicans.
himself off
What
the
about
screen.
border security in general?
Okay, border security in general. So this is immigration at large. What about border security? Look at this. Look at these numbers. Hello. Party trusted more in border security. Again, at this point, Trump's terms. Look at this. In 2018, Republicans had a 13-point advantage.
Underline it!
If anything, the advantage is a little bit larger now. Republicans up by 15 points. So when you put it all together, you put immigration with border security and the idea that Democrats will be able to take the ball and run away on it, the polling data suggests no. This is actually an issue that Republicans should be more comfortable running on than Democrats. Democrats running on immigration may actually be to the Republicans' advantage.
What about when you compare President Trump with former...
Hear what he said there. Democrats running on immigration is likely going to be to Republicans' advantage. And what do they insist on doing? ICE. They are losing. Why do you think that Epstein suddenly became a thing? They need another thing. We are winning on immigration.
Or President Biden.
Yeah, okay. So, we speak about President Trump's approval rating, right, on immigration not being as high as it once was. But I'll tell you who the heck it's a lot higher than at this point in his term, and that's the predecessor, Joe Biden. Look at this, approval on immigration at this point in presidency.
Give
Biden
me a circle,
was at
Harry!
34%. Donald Trump looks a whole heck of a lot better when you compare him to the alternative at 45%. And this, I think, is the big takeaway from this segment, which is you can't just look at something in isolation. You have to compare it to the alternative. And in this particular case, when you take a look at immigration and you compare Republicans to the alternative Democrats, this is an issue that Republicans should really like, and President Trump should like the comparison to Joe Biden.
It's interesting. It may be.
Okay, then I believe, I can't remember if I have another one from him today, but let's continue. For the first time since the Great Depression, more people left the United States than moved in. According to the Brookings Institution, the U.S. recorded a net migration loss of about 150,000 people in 2025. Around 2.6 to 2.7 million people moved to the U.S., down from 6 million in 2023. This is the numbers on record. While at least 180,000 Americans relocated to 15 key countries. Popular destinations include Portugal, Ireland, Germany, Spain, and Albania. Applications to renounce U.S. citizenship rose 48% in 2024. Analysts link the trend to remote work, rising living costs, and quality of life concerns. Donald Dash report shows Americans leaving the U.S. in record numbers. Now, there is some noise to these numbers, I think, which is that some of these are trends that were already underway, and these are probably because of people who saw the direction things were going under Biden, and they're like, yeah, I'm getting out of here. But a net migration loss. And look at this. For people who say that Trump isn't serious because he won't ignore the justices, giving you guys yet another reminder to go follow and appeal to pragmatism on Telegram. Judges say the Trump admin has been bypassing dozens of court orders a month and getting away with it practically every time. This is from, I believe this is the New York Times. Is that the New York Times font? Judges grow angry over Trump administration violating their orders. At least 35 times since August, federal judges have ordered the administration to explain why it should not be punished for violating their orders in immigration cases. So anybody who's saying that Trump isn't serious because he's not ignoring the judges, or why doesn't Trump just ignore the judges? Trump is ignoring the judges. The administration has been ignoring the judges. You're just not hearing about it. Because apparently you're listening to the people. You're not listening to the right people. You're listening to the ASTROLABE. Now you know. Oh yeah, here we go. So, I think I actually got these videos out of order. I didn't read the text, and I just saw Harry. CNN just admitted. Yanko Eve! Thank you, sir. CNN just admitted that the 2028 Democratic presidential nominee race is a clown show. Listen to this.
They're all running, and this is just a downright clown car at this point on the Democratic side. I mean, just take a look.
Just a downright clown car at this point on the Democratic side.
Here, top choices for the 2028 Dem-Pres nominee. You have a leader.
He sort of sounds like a white version of Cleveland from Family Guy with just a slightly, I don't know, like a Jewy white version of Cleveland.
But it's not really a clear leader. It's within the margin of error. You have Newsom at 19%. Then you have former Vice President Kamala Harris at 18%. Quite a weak number for her, given that, of course, she was the nominee last time around. Pete Buttigieg, who, of course, has run before, 13%. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at 12%. This is just a total clown car. It is a total mess. There is no clear front runner at this particular point on the Democratic side. Who the heck knows who the nominee is going to be in 2 years?
It's been a long time since we've had a Democratic race like this.
Yeah, it has been a long time. This is very unusual for the Democratic side to not have a clear front runner at this point. National early poll leader at least 25%. Look at this. This year, we get the giant question mark. No one. In 2020, when there was no incumbent, it was Joe Biden who was there, Hillary Clinton in both 2008 and 16, and Al Gore in both 2000 and 2004 at this point. We're at least at 25% of the early polls. You have to go all the way back.
All the way back.
All the way back from when I wasn't even in elementary school yet, not even in pre-K yet, to 1992. That was the last cycle in which there
1992. Come on, dude.
Was no clear front runner at this point. Very unusual.
Just to be clear, this isn't predicted because she didn't win in this primary and he didn't run. But this gives you a sense of a year out. So what about Newsom? What are the prediction markets saying his odds are?
Yeah, okay. So it seems to me that
it's going to be Kamala. I'm going to keep saying that. I'm going to keep saying that the Republicans are going to gain seats in the midterms and the Democrats are going to run Kamala. This one here, I don't have any more on this except for just what this tweet says, but shout out to Boris Herzl for tagging me in this. Trump has previewed a 17-page draft executive order that claims China interfered in the 2020 election, per the Washington Post. How many pages? What's that?
Good afternoon, Patriots. This is Agent Q.
A 17-page draft executive order that claims China interfered in the 2020 election. Remember how he said that they don't need Congress to act on voter security, on election security. He says, I'm just going to take executive action if Congress doesn't. And now we're getting it leaked that this is going to be the premise of it? That China interfered in the 2020 election? I need to go check on the Devolution Bros because they got started chimping when they saw this. The Q people are losing their ever-loving minds right now. They have spent years in the wilderness, trusting with all their might, grasping at every single little thing that they could find. Because they were not going to give up on their president. And now, a 17-page draft executive order claiming China interfered in the 2020 election. If that actually gets released, these people are going to spontaneously combust.
The only acceptable political theory is complete undying loyalty to Donald Trump.
I am these people. This creates the basis to declare a national emergency that would unlock extraordinary presidential power over voting. Mr. President, you have my trust, sir. Do what you need to do. Interestingly, the stuff on his desk here almost kind of makes like an S. Lightning bolt S. You see what I'm seeing? I couldn't help but notice that. Oh, okay. Now, let's get a little geeky with it here. Let's get deep. We're gonna go deep, boys. Wilmanitis. I assume that's how it's pronounced. Against taste. Taste arrived quietly, somewhere over the last few months. It arrived the way a new technology consensus always arrives. It wasn't argued into place, it simply appeared there one morning, like the weather. No one proposed it, no one even had to. It was a clean and easy answer to the question everyone in technology has been asking. What are humans for once the models get good enough? Taste was a clean and easy answer. It could be deployed at deliberative ketchup coffees in San Francisco matcha bars, the kind with overstuffed croissants that end up on viral TikToks and hashtag food Slack channels featuring sober coworker chat about slop bowls. And taste arrived at boozy New York allocator dinners, where people counted their carry and felt bad about it, while deploying it into Gin Lane houses and Park Avenue condos, while discussing which venture capitalist got divorced that week. Taste, of course, was the only thing that mattered. The ability to select, the ability to curate. The thing humans have been doing forever. Taste was an easy answer. Greg Brockman here tweeted, "Taste is a new core skill." Taste comes to the party wearing Yoji Yamamoto pants and an OpenAI commercial leadership offsite Patagonia quarter zip. Taste does drink just a bit, and sometimes more than a bit on weekends, but it does have a shockingly high VO2. Taste has a complete vision of what post-scarcity protein-heavy brunch looks like. Shiny Accutane and GHK skin, emotions muted by insulin inhibitors, and novel neurotoxic research chemicals. I hate taste. Not because taste isn't real, taste is very real. I hate it because what we're calling taste is a very dangerous and slippery thing. And when you look at what came before taste, you realize that what the taste thesis actually proposes is not an empowerment of human agency, but a fundamental demotion. It might be the most elegant and well-branded demotion in the history of human self-regard. Consider what the word actually means. For most of human history, there was no concept of taste as we understand it. There was patronage. Paul Graham tweet. Prediction. In the AI age, taste will become even more important. When anyone can make anything, the big differentiator is what you choose to make. Patronage was anything but taste. Patronage was a relationship between capital and artistic labor, so intimate that the two were functionally a single body. The patron did not select from finished works on a wall, allocating neat sums of money to purchase them. The patron animated the work before it existed. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it, Genesis 2:15. The first vocation in Scripture is not to sit atop creation and admire its beauty. It is labor, co-creation. Man's original calling is to tend, to make, to participate in the ongoing work of creation. The garden is not a tasteful Japandi department store, finished so that software engineers can walk through it and tithe their income to its best elements. It is a living thing that requires redemptive labor. The taste thesis, at its deepest and most simple structure, reverses this order. It places man at the end of the chain of creation, evaluating what has already been generated, rather than at the beginning, participating in the generation itself. It makes man what he has been slowly becoming for a century, a critic of creation, rather than a co-creator, a consumer at his core. The bottega system, first pioneered in Florence in the 15th century, animated some of the greatest works humanity has ever produced. A bottega was not an artist's studio in any modern sense. It was not a private room where a thoughtful artist communed with his own genius and waited for the muse. It was a commercial enterprise that took commissions. Verrocchio's bottega, where the young Leonardo trained, was exactly this kind of place. The patron didn't stroll in once the painting was finished to evaluate it. He arrived before the first brushstroke. He specified the subject. He specified the materials. The contract was explicit down to the gram. How much ultramarine? How much gold leaf? Because these things cost real money, and the patron was not interested in artistic ambiguity. He specified the dimensions. He specified what figures should appear and where. A tweet here says, today I learned one of Alphonse Mucha's first commissions was from Czech farmers in rural North Dakota in 1886. The painter pushed back. He knew things the patron did not. He understood composition, perspective, the play of light, the behavior of pigment on gesso. Gesso? The structural properties of the poplar panels he would paint on. The patron's money bought the ultramarine, and the painter's knowledge determined what it could become. The negotiation between these two was the generative act. The patron's capital and ambition, the painter's skill and stubbornness. They were locked in a generative argument about what the thing should be, and what emerged was a product of that argument. Not of anyone's judgment, but of their shared labor. This is how artistic creation worked for most of human history. Think of the medieval cathedral. The bishop raised the money, the master mason designed the structure, but the relationship between them was not commissioner and contractor. It was a decades-long collaboration, sometimes centuries-long, in which both participated alongside an unseen third party. Spires were added, naves extended, choirs that collapsed were rebuilt taller, because the ambition of one generation and the knowledge of the masons were in perpetual dialogue, and neither would concede. But the most important party in these conversations was silent. These buildings were oriented towards something that could not speak. They were oriented towards God. The spire pointed to heaven, and the labor existed to glorify him. The ambition was never secular vanity alone. It was an attempt to participate in the ongoing work of creation, to make something that approached the transcendent. The patron and the mason were in constant dialogue with the divine. You could almost call that like a trinity. You know, you have the patron and you have the mason building something toward the heavens. The patron being the masculine role, the mason being in the feminine role with respect to the patron. The Tierceron vaulted ceiling at Exeter Cathedral runs the whole length of the cathedral, making it the longest medieval stone vault in the world. Look at that. Absolutely remarkable. We used to build things. Consider Julius II and Sistine Chapel. The original commission was the 12 Apostles on the Spandrels, a standard decorative program. You can still see similar work in dozens of churches across Rome that certainly do not attract the crowds or devotion that the Sistine Chapel does. Michelangelo thought such a commission was beneath him. Julius thought Michelangelo was being difficult. They fought. The scope exploded. 300 figures, the entire narrative arc of Genesis, from the separation of light and darkness to the drunkenness of Noah, the entire theological history of the world before Christ. Julius himself climbed the scaffolding, old and sick, to see the work. He fought with Michelangelo in person, 60 feet above the chapel floor. There is a story, certainly apocryphal, but instrumentally indicative, that Michelangelo dropped a plank on him in protest. When Julius demanded to know when the ceiling would be finished, Michelangelo replied, "When I am finished." This was not taste. This was intimate collaboration between capital, labor, and the divine. The ceiling exists because two difficult men were locked in a conversation with a transcendent third who could not speak back to them, and neither could have produced it alone. A tweet here says, in the photo, Georgi Balankavadji, 22 January 1904 to 1983, is seated among other members of the Petrograd Theater of Opera and Ballet. In 1924, he led a small group of dancers to the West. In Paris, they were taken on by Diaghilev, who in no time turned Georgi into George Balanchine. Diaghilev, the Ballets Russes. Paris, somewhere around 1912. He could not dance, he could not compose, he could not paint. If taste is real, Diaghilev is its proof. He is the case everyone would reach for. I mean, I wouldn't. I'd never heard of him before this, but maybe I'm just, maybe I'm an uncultured swine. I am the Wigger pig. But Diaghilev was not in the audience. He was in the rehearsal room. He paired dancers who would never have chosen each other. Stravinsky with Nijinsky, Cocteau with Satie. These are not American words. Why are they on my screen? He pushed them to do things none of them would have done alone. He pushed Stravinsky towards violence, pushed Nijinsky away from classical form. He demanded the thing be more savage and more human than anyone could imagine. He, of course, was not choosing from a menu of generated options. He was creating the conditions under which something none of them could have imagined alone could emerge. The word is not taste. The word he might have used was provocation. The word, if you want to be precise about it, is patronage in its original form. Capital and labor and the transcendent in the same room, fighting to make something great. The pattern across all these cases is identical, of course. The creative act was the negotiation itself, and it was always oriented towards the transcendent, the fundamental conflict between ambition and constraint, between two parties who wanted to honor God and the transcendent, but could not agree on the terms. This is Park Avenue, early 20th century, restrained street architecture at approximately 22 stories, defining a perspective terminated by a grander classicizing tower at approximately 34 stories. Good streets are often less about absolute height than build line, frontage width, relative heights, enclosure ratio, etc. Look at that. We used to have glorious cities. We used to build glorious things. So when did taste arrive? It arrived when we eliminated the transcendent and the patron left the room. If you pressed me, I would date it to somewhere at the 18th century, roughly the emergence of the modern art market. The Park Avenue Armory exhibition, the Parisian Salon, the rise of the collector as a social type, all representations of the relationship between capital and labor breaking apart. The maker made the thing, the buyer evaluated the thing, the two no longer communicated except at art fairs. This is taste. Taste is what you call the patron's function after you have removed the patron from the process of making. It is the disgusting residue of a relationship that used to be generative, refocused entirely towards consumption. The collector replaced the patron. The critic replaced the guildmaster. The gallery replaced the bottega. Taste replaced patronage. What was lost was friction, the argument, the being in the room, the orientation towards something that mattered. The relationship between capital and labor and the transcendent that made something neither could produce alone. 55 years later, Tom Wolfe's derisive article for New York Magazine remains as relevant as ever. Radical chic, that party at Lenny's. Tom Wolfe documented this precisely. The Painted Word, published in 1975 at the peak of the gray pinstripe and methaqualone. Methaqualone? Seems like that's not, like the emphasis should be on a different syllable. It fueled Upper East Side society boom, is the most precise autopsy of what happened. Wolfe's observation, which drove the art world into a theory so total and personal that it essentially served as proof of his point, was simple. By the mid-20th century, modern art had become entirely literary. The paintings existed to illustrate theories, not the reverse. The theories did not describe the paintings described the theories. Fascinating observation. The paintings described the theories. So people had a theory and then they painted according to the theory that pre-existed the painting. So the painting was derivative of the theory versus the painting simply existing and then the theories being derived from the painting. Wolfe's line, which I return to often. Now, at last, on April 28, 1974, I could see. I had gotten it backward all along. Not seeing is believing, you ninny, but believing is seeing. For modern art has become completely literary. The paintings and other works exist only to illustrate the text. Like most sudden revelations, oh my God. Like most sudden revelations, this one left me dizzy. How could such a thing be? This is taste in its most terminal form. The collector doesn't look at the painting and judge it. The collector reads the critic, then looks at the painting through the critic's eyes. The painting is not an object in its own right, but a theory to be validated. The taste is not in the looking, the taste is in knowing which theory is fashionable to subscribe to. Wolfe diagnosed the social architecture beneath all of this, and that architecture was quite small. The art world, much like the post-AGI, post-peptide, post-economic world that animates us here, was a tiny town of maybe 10,000 people. Le Monde, the collectors, the socialites, the museum boards looked to Bohemia for the new wave. Bohemia was organized into cenacles, cliques, schools, and coteries. When one cenacle came to dominate, its views dominated the entire town. This is the thing the taste discourse never wants to say out loud. The collectors did not have taste in their own right. They had a social network that told them what taste was, and they performed it. Sound familiar? The only difference today is that the Bohemia now are Twitteranons. But the deeper thing Wolf saw, and this is the point I want to make precisely, was not just that taste had become social performance. It was that taste had become consumption as such. Raw consumption. Acquisition with no orientation beyond itself. Consider the Park Avenue collector who filled her apartment with Queen Anne furniture. She filled it beautifully. The proportions are correct. It's impeccable. The walnut is right. The cabriole legs are right. The shell carvings are right. She can tell you the difference between Philadelphia Queen Anne and Newport Queen Anne. Her eye is extraordinary. But the apartment is pointed at nothing. This is the thing that separates the collector from the patron. The patron's activity was oriented towards the transcendent, towards God, towards the city, towards a project that exceeded his own life. The ultramarine was not for him, it was for the altarpiece. The spire was not for him, it was for heaven. Even the Sistine Chapel, commissioned by a pope of legendary vanity, was not for Julius. It was for the church. The patron's capital flowed through him towards something beyond him, and the friction between his ambition and the master's skill produced the work as a byproduct of that shared orientation. They were all pointed at the same thing they couldn't quite see. Strip the transcendent out, and what remains is raw consumption. You are no longer participating in a project that exceeds you, you are furnishing a room. The judgment may be exquisite, the room may be beautiful, but the activity has no telos. It is not pointed at heaven, it is not even pointed at the future. It's pointed at a living room wall. Consume! Strip the transcendent out, and all that's left is consuming. You must consume, you are a consumer. See the connection here between the loss of the patron, the loss of the masculine role. The loss of the masculine role is equivalent to the loss of the transcendence, because you break the triangle. Let me make some gang signs here. You break the triangle, that trinity. The connection to the transcendent that's found in the connection between the masculine and the feminine. The patron walks out, the transcendent is lost, and all that's left is just consuming, just materialism, detached from the divine. Nostalgia, hauntology, liminal, it's all the same shit. Millennials have been living the past over and over again for decades. The late CCRU philosopher Mark Fisher named what this produces. The term is tired now, but it remains precise. Hauntology, which Fisher described as the slow cancellation of the future. The condition in which culture loses its ability to generate the genuinely new, and instead recycles the past in increasingly frantic high resolution. We are haunted not by what happened, but by what was promised and never arrived. Hauntology is precisely what happens when taste replaces patronage. Taste can only operate on what already exists. It can only recognize what has already been validated. Even when it selects brilliantly, and it certainly can, by God, I've seen some beautiful Park Avenue condos, it is selecting backwards. It is rearranging the archive. It is remixing. The remix can be beautiful, but it cannot produce the rapturous, the transcendent, or the kingdom of God here on earth. It cannot produce the genuinely new, the thing with no precedent in the archive, the thing that could not be selected for, because it does not yet exist. The premiere of Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, perhaps the most transcendent ballet of the 20th century, was functionally a riot. The audience, the haute couture Parisians, the most cultivated people on earth, the people with the best taste of any room they walked into, could not evaluate it. There was nothing in their existing taste to prepare them. They booed. They would have turned the stage into a bloodbath in ravenous disgust, if not for their tasteful Enlightenment morals. Their taste was useless in the face of the genuinely new. It stood between them and the most important art of the century. The thing that produced the right was not taste. It was Diaghilev in the rehearsal room, fighting, provoking, demanding something that no existing taste could have specified. It was capital and labor locked together, making something that had never existed in service of something beyond either. Tweet from Reggie James. He says, tech people want to start conversations around taste. Tech people who want to start conversations around taste are going to be really ruffled when they realize they aren't the pinnacle of that pyramid. Reggie is sharp and early here, but he understates the problem. The issue is not that tech people have bad taste. Many of them have quite good taste, depending on what you're after. The issue is that the pyramid has no pinnacle because the pyramid is not oriented towards anything at all. If it's oriented towards anything, it's oriented at the past. The Silicon Valley taste thesis proposes to repeat the 18th century separation of capital and creation at nearly infinite scale. In a world where AI generates everything, the human becomes the collector, the evaluator, the man who arrives after the work is done. This is not a new idea. The separation of patron and maker is at least 300 years old. But replacing the artist with a machine, a prompt where the ultramarine used to be, is something much worse. Consider what the highest expression of taste looks like today. And there's a tweet here of Steve Jobs in his office. And Dan Lowenhert says, taste is a limited resource you must spend on things you care about, for example. And TJ Parker says, it's the best that all these examples of not caring about things are actually quite high taste. Notice the Nakashima chair as desk chair as an example. Right here. This is taste eating itself. A Nakashima chair as a desk chair. Last I checked, about $3,000, designed by a master woodworker who moved to the middle of Pennsylvania for total isolation and mastery. A man who studied at MIT, apprenticed with Antonin Raymond in Tokyo, was interned at Minidoka during the war and built furniture in the camp, deployed as a background prop in the performance of Not Caring. The man in the photo is not careless. He is performing carelessness at considerable personal expense. Castiglione had a word for this in 1528. Sprezzatura, the courtier's nonchalance that conceals all art, the appearance of effortlessness that requires enormous effort, the look of not caring that takes more effort than caring possibly could. But what has been stripped from Sprezza when we encounter it in 2008 Tumblr menswear posts and Buck Mason Instagram captions today is the thing that actually mattered. In Castiglione's telling, the courtier did not merely select well. He danced, he fought, he composed verse, debated philosophy in public, wrestled and concealed all his labor behind a mask of ease. The nonchalance presupposed total command and an orientation towards the transcendent that would honor the creator through his mastery. You could only afford to look careless if you had internalized the discipline so completely that the carelessness itself was expressive. Sprezzatura was the visible trace of mastery. The Silicon Valley version keeps the nonchalance and throws away the mastery. The Nakashima chair, the Miu Miu skirt, the curated bookshelves with the right verso paperbacks. The vintage Dieter Rams on the credenza. Objects chosen with exquisite discrimination, signifying a sensibility that has no corresponding practice. You know what good looks like, or at least you've seen some tweets that told you so. But you don't make good things, you select them, and selection is the skill. Tweet here of Einstein. Paul Graham says, taste in clothing isn't important if your goal is to think well. Clothing should just be as comfortable as possible. Wolf would recognize this instantly. It is the radical chic for the GPU and peptide age. The right objects in the right loft signifying the right sensibility. The bourgeois proof updated for a generation that says vibe instead of avant-garde. The Nakashima chair is the new Queen Anne commode. The framed for Zoom Scandinavian home office is the Park Avenue living room. The activity is identical. Consumption pointed at nothing but itself, dressed in the language of discernment. This is such a heater. This is high verbal IQ shit right here. Consumption pointed at nothing but itself, dressed in the language of discernment. I've talked before about how liberalism is like taking the frame of Christianity So you could also say the frame of what's beautiful, what's good, what's true, what's right. Taking that frame and taking Christ out, the personhood of Christ out of the center of it, and injecting the abstract individual into it. So it maintains all the trappings of the good and right and perfect and beautiful and true, and uses all the language, acts like Christianity, pretends to be Christianity, makes arguments according to Christian morality. The most diehard shitlib is yelling at you for not being Christian enough in their eyes, the way that their Christianity, which is ultimately orbiting around themselves, around self-worship. This is the detachment from the transcendent. Because ultimately they're just angry at their daddy because their daddy abandoned them. Maybe literally, at least metaphorically. What the taste discourse is actually proposing, beneath its empowering language, is that the social technology of selection is the last uniquely human skill. The ability to signal through choice. Your life filled with beautiful things pointed only at themselves. If this is what saves you, it certainly won't save your soul. This is 2 years of GAN progress on class conditional ImageNet 128. So 2016, 2017, 2018. Remember when these were the so-called AI images that were being produced? When I first started working in machine learning in the 2010s, there was an architecture proposed by Ian Goodfellow, sketched as the story goes on a napkin in a Montreal bar, which is certainly the kind of origin story the taste thesis would appreciate. 2 neural networks locked in a loop. The generator makes, the discriminator judges. The generator improves because the discriminator is honest about what's wrong. The discriminator improves because the generator keeps getting better. The thing about GANs, which is I can't remember now what it stands for. The machine learning model of the two oppositional generative adversarial networks. Yeah, the two models in this dialectic with each other. The thing about GANs that no one in the capital T taste discourse wants to hear is that the discriminator is the disposable half. Hold on.
It's important to segregate.
Okay, there we go. Once the generator is good enough, the discriminator is removed. Its entire purpose was to train the generator into competence. Once that's achieved, the discriminator has no independent reason to exist. The taste discourse is asking you to be the discriminator. It's asking you to be the discriminator, which, as we've seen with these models, the discriminator is the thing that gets done away with. I mean, this begs the question of competence. What's your standard for competence? Why is there this assumption that competence has a limit, competence has a ceiling? Machines will learn your taste. They will internalize your preferences. They will anticipate your selections faster than you can make them. The more refined your taste, the faster they learn it, and the sooner you are redundant. This is how the architecture works. Now take a step back. We have been handed the most extraordinary technological leverage in human history. Not figuratively, literally the most powerful amplifier of human will ever constructed. A machine that can take an intention and realize it at a speed and scale no prior generation could have imagined. The mason had limestone and a chisel. We have something that can design the cathedral in an afternoon, and we're using it to select the inseam length of fast fashion pants. Exclusive. Uniqlo considers a return to downtown San Francisco 4 years after closing its flagship store. This is what the taste thesis gets exactly backwards. The patron who built the cathedral was not exercising taste, he was exercising will. He was exercising worship. And that will was devoted to something beyond himself, towards God, towards the city, towards a future he would not live to see. Strip the transcendent out, and what remains is consumption. However exquisite the eye, however refined the palate, however flawless the Queen Anne proportions, the activity is acquisition. And the acquisition leads nowhere. We are here. We are sitting at the top of a hierarchy we did not build. In Wolf's case, it was financialized capital. In ours, it is techno-capital. The hierarchy moves through us. It generates for us. It curates for us. It flatters our preferences back to us at machine speed. And we are furnishing our beautiful homes, in the San Francisco case, slightly more tasteless and slightly more Japandi, and it will lead nowhere. This stone commemorates the exploit of William Webb Ellis, who, with a fine disregard for the rules of football as played in his time, first took the ball in his arms and ran with it, thus originating the distinctive feature of the rugby game. AD 1823. Consider the story of William Webb Ellis at rugby school in 1823. The game on the field was football, an early chaotic version of what would become soccer. You could catch the ball, but when you caught it, you released it and kicked it forward. So it's kind of like Aussie rules a little bit. Webb Ellis caught the ball and ran. He didn't put it down. He tucked it under his arm and ran towards the opposing goal, and in so doing, he broke the game. Not because he didn't understand the rules, he understood them completely, but because his command was so total that his violation produced something new. A better game, at least in my view. A game that could not have been designed from the outside, but could only have emerged from someone so deeply inside the existing one that his departure was generative rather than destructive. Could almost call him like a Caesar, perhaps. Or a Trump. The guy who's so deeply embedded in it, so deeply embedded in the existing structure, that his departure from the existing structure was generative rather than destructive. As I've always said, my president is a world-class athlete. The plaque at rugby school commemorates him for acting, quote, with a fine disregard for the rules of football as played in his time. A fine disregard. The disregard of someone who has internalized the rules so much that he can feel where they bend, where they want to break, where the new thing is hiding inside the old one. A transcendent ideal reached from the inside against every possible taste of his time. If you ask me what the function of humans is after AGI, it's to handle the transcendent with the same fine disregard for the rules. To look at what is great and what serves us, to play with it, to riff on it, to hold it loosely, and to orient towards it in a way that lets us co-create with it. Christ was a carpenter before he was a teacher. Moses was a shepherd before he was a prophet. The kingdom is built by hands, not by judges with haute taste. The biblical vision of redeemed labor is not the elimination of work, but its restoration to the communion it was made for. Man and the stuff of creation in the same room, oriented towards the same thing, making something together that exceeds them both. This is what the patron and the mason had. This is what the taste thesis perverts. The discriminator is destroyed. Its entire purpose is to make itself unnecessary. You are so much more than that. You must persist. And then the same author wrote this. It's a little shorter. Craft is the antidote to slop, to dress it and to keep it. This is Wilmanitis. From Genesis, man enters not a paradise without labor, but a world of intentional creation. The Lord God places man in the Garden of Eden, quote, to dress it and to keep it, Genesis 2:15, establishing labor not as punishment, but as sacred vocation. This original calling invites us to co-create the kingdom, tending and developing the world with intention and care. Our fundamental purpose is not consumption, but participation in the ongoing work of creation. The serpent's temptation represents the first shortcut in human history. Ye shall be as gods, Genesis 3:5, was not an invitation to deeper engagement with creation, but a way to get out of the work required to tend to it. The consequence wasn't the introduction of work itself, but its corruption into burdensome toil. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, Genesis 3:19. Humanity's first sin was, in part, choosing the easy shortcut over the meaningful process, preferring effortless gain to the demanding but fulfilling work of tending the garden. This first temptation remains alive today. Our post-Enlightenment view that our world is purely material, that our lives are the outcome of physical processes devoid of feeling, craft, or meaning, is to discount the unique, historical, and stubbornly detailed nature of reality. This view misses what is evident, that the world we inhabit bears the marks of exacting, purposeful craftsmanship on both human and cosmic scales. Viewing the world as raw material is a cheap shortcut around the demanding hermeneutic work of understanding the past and engaging deeply with the present. Whew! Viewing the world as raw material, so this is like fundamental materialism, is a cheap shortcut. It's the same shortcut that the serpent offered. Ye shall be as gods. Just take the shortcut. Eat the fruit. Gain the knowledge. Get the gnosis. The secret knowledge. Release the documents. We must have the secret knowledge. It's through getting the shortcut to the secret knowledge that the big Deus Ex Machina happens. And someone comes in and just saves the day magically. And then we don't have to worry about it anymore. Then we don't have to actually do anything. We don't have to suffer. We are suffering. It's wrong that we're suffering. So someone needs to come relieve us of our suffering. That's the shortcut. No, you got to relieve yourself of suffering. You got to lean into that suffering. Embrace it. What does Jocko say? Good. Viewing the world as raw material is a cheap shortcut around the demanding hermeneutic work of understanding the past and engaging deeply with the present. The outputs of these shortcuts are slop, the dominant cultural output of the 21st century. You hear that? The Panicans are political slop merchants. Slop emerges when we eliminate not just the toil, the burdensome aspects of work, but labor itself, the meaningful human engagement with creation. Slop is production without history. Slop is detached from genuine human contribution. Slop is born of effortless, replicable processes. We see it in the overwhelming flood of AI-generated content on timelines. But slop is not just digital, it manifests physically in the uniform, history-denying aesthetic of new-build transplant cities built from replicable templates, lacking any imprint of history or specific human interaction with place. It is also present in industrially farmed food that has seemingly never seen soil. This might explain why truly inspired creation, the antithesis of slop, often seems rooted in something beyond mere human effort or secular concern. Consider how no purely secular building has ever approached the grandeur of Chartres, or any of the old cathedrals, and no secular music has reached the spiritual depth of Bach. Slop, in all its forms, is the result of attempting to conjure life and meaning without labor or place in history. Chart. Chart. Where's Mr. Butt Poop? You still here? We're talking about charts. Language models provide the means for industrialization of slop. In their highest calling, these tools can eliminate genuine toil, tending to burdensome emails, litigating with your co-op board, or drafting a parking ticket appeal. But when we ask a model to write a poem, design a church, or compose a eulogy, we get something fundamentally different from human creation. The model has never lost a loved one, never stood in a holy place, never lived. We can and should automate toil, but we must preserve craft. The difference is simple. When I use a model as leverage to remove toil, I remain source. When I ask a model to remove my agency by replacing my labor, something ancient and unseen becomes source. Demons thrive in these automated realms. Not metaphorical demons, but the actual spiritual forces that have always sought to separate humanity from meaningful engagement with creation, as we see in Genesis 3. The demonic recognizes in our shortcuts the perfect opportunity. Tempt humans away from the difficult labor of making, growing, and building with our own hands and minds. Instead, offer an endless stream of effortless consumption. Images without artists, music without musicians, stories without storytellers. The devil's oldest strategy is, of course, promising godlike creation without godlike effort. Yet the biblical narrative does not end in the garden lost to a shortcut. It culminates in Revelation with the vision of a city, the New Jerusalem, Revelation 21 and 22. This city is not a return to effortless paradise, but a place whose jasper walls and river-lit avenues are inconceivable without millennia of labor and discovery. The accumulated craft and effort of humanity redeemed. The nations bring their glory and honor into it, Revelation 21-24, a glory that is the fruit of human labor and culture offered back to God. As a sacrifice, you might even say. To commune with God is to offer the fruit of human labor and culture back to him. That is worship. That is sacrifice. The perfected creation still involves ongoing fruitfulness and tending. The tree of life, which bear 12 manner of fruits, Revelation 22:2. The kingdom of God is not merely a distant future state, but is, in a sense, present alongside us, requiring our active participation in building and tending it through meaningful labor. It is no coincidence that Christ was a carpenter and Moses a shepherd. In this vision of redemptive labor, we can glimpse a more hopeful future where technology serves its highest purpose by eliminating true toil while preserving the sacred space for human hands and minds to engage in genuine craft. When automation frees us, we gain capacity to redirect our energies towards the kind of deeply human creative acts that build the kingdom. Tending gardens, raising cathedrals, composing hymns, and nurturing communities. It is a participation in the ongoing work of building the kingdom. Once again, this is from Will Manitis. Craft is the antidote to slop. That's Will, W-I-L-L. His last name is M-A-N-I-D-I-S. It might be Manitis, Will Manitis, Will Manitis, Will Manitis, Will Man Eat Us? I don't know. This is minutes.substack.com is his Substack. I came across him when I saw this Against Taste article. And the reason that I saw it, interestingly enough, is I don't know anything about him. I haven't gone any further than just reading these articles. But the reason that I saw it is because, damn it. Nikita Beer replied to him and said that this is like easily the best series of articles that have ever been, the articles thing has ever been used for. So he's got some other articles I need to go back and read, because this is exactly where my mind has been with regards to AI, to technology, to politics, to so many of the themes that I've talked about on back when the show was just King Pilled and with Astrolabe. This dude is seeing the world extremely clearly. You see the way that all these things, it's kind of like you're seeing the code of reality, like how creation works, the way that it manifests the Spirit of God, and the way that it invites us. The creation is for man. It's a way for us to, it's God inviting us to come in and participate with Him in these creative efforts. Reality is something that is being manifested in real time through God and His communion with humanity. He sent His Son. His Son became human, eternally uniting humanity to divinity. We participate with our redemptive labor. I like the way he talked about that, redemptive labor. We engage in this process of redemptive labor to redeem creation, aligning ourselves with the rituals of God, the divinely ordained rituals of creation. But we have this generative capacity. We don't exist in a finite, constrained reality. We get to engage with God in the creation of reality in real time. This is what we're called to do, to exercise dominion over the earth, to build up. You can't take the story of the Tower of Babel and say, oh, building things upward toward God is bad. It's that they were building these things as an effort of self-worship. Like, I can just take a shortcut to God. It's not an anti-technology argument. Technology is the inevitable production of human effort, the inevitable product of human effort. You can't be human without using technology. Language itself is technology, as I've said many times. You can't even communicate to someone else without already beginning to participate in the creation and the development of technology and the use of technology. So the question is not, is the technology good or bad itself? It's how is it being used, but even more specifically, who is it being used by? This was an argument for me that pulled me out of the libertarian gayness. Libertarians putting the L in LGBT. I'm just going to keep saying that. That political institutions are a form of technology. Like we form political apparatuses as a way of organizing ourselves technologically. And it can be a matter of it can be as simple as we have this ritual that we all get together, we all gather together around the campfire, and the people who are present make the decisions about the other things. But that ritual of gathering around the campfire, deferring, voting, all these things, these are all technological expressions of human will. Those things will exist wherever there are humans. So the idea of having no state or no governing body or no enforcement mechanism upon society that is not voluntary, that is imposed upon you, this is explicitly divinely ordained. This is exercising dominion over the earth. And dominion is exercised by humans, ordained by God to do such. And sometimes that dominion is exercised against other humans. Back to the beginning of the show, I was talking about the children of Israel going into the promised land, wiping out the giant clans. They were exercising dominion over creation. And in this case, it was, you are going to abide by the law of God, or we are going to kill you. And if you abide by the law of God, then we're not going to kill you. But there are some sins against God whose consequence is physical death. In a sense, it could be seen as a mercy. We're going to cut you off here. You've built up quite an account, and I don't think you're ever going to be able to pay that down. So we're just going to cut it off here. You're going to get an opportunity to repent before you die, and then you're going to die so that you don't keep adding to it. It's like bankruptcy for life. And the state wields the sword as ordained by God. The sword must be wielded. The idea that you would take politics and religion and separate them out from each other is this same sort of thing. You're breaking apart that trinity again. Politics and religion are married together. They're inseparable. The state has allegiances to the church, and then the church has a proper posture with respect to the state, but both are divinely ordained. Yeah, Bobby Ballbags, I could never put that article into my own words, but I somehow understood. Yeah, that's what it was for me too. I was just reading it, and I was like, this guy's taking all these things that have been floating around in my own head, and he's just streamlining them into a conveyor belt while adding new things into them that I never would have thought of. I would encourage you. That's the third time now that I've read that article. I read it when I first bookmarked it several days ago, and then I read it again today, and then I just read it here on the show. So I'd encourage you to go back and listen to it or go read it yourself, because there is a lot in there, and I didn't want to keep stopping and commenting on it. I just kind of wanted to get through it, but I'd encourage you to go back and listen to it again or read it yourself. Along sort of the same lines here, there's this tweet from a propagandist the other day. We're going to talk. I've got a bunch of AI related things that we're going to talk about tomorrow that are kind of build on this. I wanted to try to put it all into one show, but it was going to be too much. So this is, you could think of today's show and tomorrow's show as a bit of a two-parter. His Twitter account is Willmanidis, WILLMANIDIS. That's his Twitter handle. And then his Substack is minutes.substack.com. And also the links will be in the show notes. After I push it out to the podcasts, then it'll be in the description over on Substack and on the podcast notes. Okay, so Suda here said, and there's a thread here, he's going back and forth, but I wanted to highlight this particular tweet. He said, aside from Linda Yukis, there's a shortage of cohesive narrative stuff popping up, or if there is any, the storm of slop is covering it up. But once enough of us get the hang of these tools and put in the time and effort to actualize our ideas, we can create spontaneous independent networks. That's what Kingpilled, yours truly, and the Cyberbully are doing, and what my weekly StatterLabe shows have become. We do production, curation, and taste-making, do it all well, and create goodwill and trust with a loyal audience. Then we're free of the enemy propaganda apparatus, and on our way to building our own propaganda apparatus that is at a comparable level of effectiveness, even if it's never as big as theirs was at its height. Super exciting time. And I'll just point out again, going back to his article here, against taste, the way he described it in this article, taste is not. You have like the culture of critique. Everyone's a critic. Everyone's waiting for somebody else to produce something else. Everyone's waiting for somebody else to do something else. Everyone's calling for someone to do something. Won't somebody do something? Do something. Someone needs to do something. Why won't Donald Trump do something? Why won't the Republicans do something? Why won't the Supreme Court do something? Why won't Congress do something? Why won't you do something? So-and-so did something and I don't like it. You're participating in this culture of critique. This is just like, this is neoliberal, postmodern horseshit. Sure, it's fine to have opinions, but those opinions need to go beyond just someone do something, you do something. Everyone's a critic. Everyone's favorite place to be is the peanut gallery. But taste is, and really that's what they're doing. They're just saying, like, this is in poor taste. The way these people are conducting themselves is in poor taste. I, the critic, I, the one who have honed my tastes. I have read the great tomes. I have read Evola, I've read Spangler, I've read Bap, I've read Yarvin. I've read Schmidt. And I deem these actions to be of low taste. Oh, I wouldn't invest in that. I wouldn't buy that painting. I wouldn't buy that political sloganeering. That's distasteful. I look down my nose at it. Oh, look at that guy. Look at that guy buying that disgusting painting. Can you believe it? Who would ever associate with someone like that? This is just like, it's like a peanut gallery full of art critics, except their art is politics. But just like the art critics don't actually know or appreciate good art, the politics critics, they don't know or appreciate good politics. I have some more stuff on that tomorrow. Taste is not something that is, it's not this passive, reactive bullshit. Taste is made. Taste making. You dictate what is tasteful by what you do. So if you see someone should do something. You're being called by God to do something about it. And you're confusing activity with achievement. I pointed out that someone should do it, so there, I've done my job. I know. I got the knowledge. I took the shortcut. I got the knowledge. I haven't done the hard work. I just got the knowledge. You're eating the fruit. Those are the demons. That's the demons in the AI, the demons in the technology. It's that thought that, hey, if I can just automate this, then I don't need to do anything. No, you automate that so you can do more. And then you find a way to automate that so you can do more. The automation isn't an excuse for inaction. The automation is supposed to raise the floor on your action so that you do more. The peanut gallery panic and black pillar thing is people wanting to automate their political experience. But no. On the DoorDash app, I requested a congressman arrested. I placed an order for the Epstein files to be released. I placed an order for the pedophile networks to be eradicated, and it didn't happen instantly. My DoorDasher is late. I guess I'll dig in my belly button a little more and pick my nose while I watch TV. Yeah, I'd like one Epstein files with a side of mass Democrat arrests. Yeah. These are people who lead far too easy of a life. Life is too good to them because they have time to just spend all of their time screeching about things. But anyways, taste making. That's what we do. The Agitprop Master. Here at the Lab, we are taste making. See, everyone else, the way they do it is bad, the way I do it is good. It's that simple. Last thing, and then I've got to get back to work. I know this is my work, but right now I've got lots of other work to do because I've also got to get prepared for being out next week. I will be here for Monday and Tuesday of next week, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday of next week I will be out, and then the following Monday I will also be out because I'll be flying back home. So normal schedule until Wednesday. I should check on my cat. What's my cat doing? My wife says that I should check on my cat. Wait and see what she has to say. This here from the Agitprop Master. She just got stung by a scorpion? Oh, poor Junie. There was a scorpion in the house? Or did she go outside? The cat's already making art. Waiting to see if she says something here. In the entryway. Damn. I haven't seen many scorpions here. I see them occasionally out on the sidewalk, but I've only seen the little tiny guys. They're maybe an inch long, inch and a half, something like that. Poor cat. All right, well, let me finish this up, and I'll go check on my cat. From the Agitprop Master himself, says theater is statecraft. Statecraft is theater. This is correct. The enemy's ugly propaganda goblins are trying to tell you something that your leaders refuse to tell you. Statecraft is theater. Theater is statecraft. Now, it's possible, for those watching on YouTube later on, it's possible that this is going to get copyright claimed, and the video doesn't play. So if you're listening later on and all of a sudden the show does some weird glitch, then it's because I had to clip this next section out. You'll just have to go to the tweet, to be the very last tweet on the Substack post for this, and watch it yourself.
Oh, you're all still asleep. Wakey, wakey, Aractigino and Bakey. Eyes up, cadets. I'm Lieutenant Sylvia Tilley. I'm on rotation in the Beta Quadrant with the third years. However, per the Chancellor, this class has been mandated for you, so...
What is that?
You get me early.
Cadet Raimi, Lieutenant. May I ask what course this is?
Theater.
Oh my...
Gross. Ew.
Sorry. Lieutenant, what is theatre have anything to do
8
with?
out of 10 cadets ask that question. The other 2 become captains.
Captains don't do...
What if I told you that theater
So bad.
is one of the most powerful tools for social and political change? Theater is statecraft. Statecraft is theater. It's the kind of stuff you overachievers get all hot and bothered over. So chew on that.
It's gay. It's annoying. Makes you want to throw her in front of a moving car. But she's exactly right. Theater is statecraft. This is so much of what makes Donald Trump so freaking effective. And this is where I'm going to continue this conversation tomorrow. We're going to talk about some of this on tomorrow's episode. We're going to talk more about the AI thing, AI safety, female brain, and also what uniquely about Donald Trump makes him so effective, because he understands this innately. He probably wouldn't even describe it to you. That's how innately he understands it, which is why he became the man uniquely equipped to break the rules from within the game and fundamentally change the game permanently going forward. He understands that theater is statecraft.
Is statecraft. Statecraft is theater. It's the kind of stuff you overachievers get all hot and bothered over. So chew on that till you get it, and it changes your life.
Please, change my life, Lieutenant.
Favorite.
The N-word!
Homework. Find a play. I'll select one that suits our purposes. We will read it out loud, discuss, dissect. And for those of you still bristling with confusion and or resentment, I don't care.
We're going to kill you. We're going to give you the death penalty or kill you.
No more games. I want Trump to issue death warrants now against all these people. I want them killed. I want them dead now.
No more gays. That's right. Okay. All right, guys. That is all I've got for you tonight. Appreciate you all. Thank you for the contributions to the tip goal. And it turns out, actually, I think I could have kept it on the other one because there was exactly 3. I had tokens for 3 more, but there's still more days in the month. So I got to go check on my pussy. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Make sure you follow me on X. Join the King Pill Discord, kingpill.com. Follow the Substack, King Pilled. You can support the show by going to tips.kingpilled.com or go to Cash App or Venmo. And it's at King Pilled for both of those. I'm fully supported by you guys. You guys pay the bills. Rent is coming up soon. I know it's coming up for you guys as well. But my president told me that there's supposed to be some big tax returns coming this year. So I assume you guys are going to be suddenly rolling in the dough, right? Right, guys? I love you all. I will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America